Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're actually going to review a fragrance that was released last year in 2017. It's from a house that I've never reviewed before. It's from Masque Milano or Masque Milano. It is Times Square. Now this is the box and the presentation. Before I actually get started, I'd like to let you know this was actually sent to me from the company itself. They sent it to me for the purposes of reviewing. Therefore, if you do not feel that I can be impartial, please feel free to click away. No harm, no foul. But I'm here to tell you that yes, of course, I'm going to be completely unbiased and give you my true opinion, as I always do, of a fragrance. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this fragrance. Now, you pop open the box and you're left with the fragrance, and I actually really do like the design of these bottles. It comes like this. It's only 35 milliliters, and that 35 milliliters for, I believe, any of the fragrances is currently going to run you about $150. So it is a little bit more on the expensive side. It reminds me of the Nasamato line, if you will. The bottle does look beautiful. I like when you take off the cap. It's got this engraving on the top of it that has obviously the name Times Square, and it's also got the parfumé who's on it, who is Bruno. I'm not going to even butcher his last name, but either way, that's what the fragrance comes across and looks like. So top-notch presentation, but the important part, what does it actually smell like and what do you get? Now, before I actually describe what I'm getting and what I smell like, I'd like to give you the background on the fragrance. Now, obviously the name is Times Square, so it's supposed to evoke some feelings of what Times Square is and what Times Square kind of smells like. Now, the description of it is that it's Times Square pre-Giuliani. So for those of you who don't live in New York City, Giuliani was a mayor of New York before he became a commentator or anything like that, but he was the mayor that is largely credited to cleaning up New York City, specifically Times Square. Before Rudy Giuliani came into the picture, Times Square was a whole bunch of peep shows, videos, hookers, streetwalkers or prostitutes walking all around. You've got, garbage, cops, some things rotting back in there. It was basically kind of like, a lot of just, I guess you could say, not necessarily the lower elements of society, but it's just almost a place where almost anything goes, if you will. And it was just, the epicenter there. And so what this fragrance is supposed to evoke are things that remind you of that. And I have to say, it does a great job in it. It has this kind of smoky feel and ashes that kind of reminds you of the smoke and the cigarettes kind of going on. It's kind of got this rotting fruit type of a smell to it. It's got this like cheap lipsticky type of a smell to it that's kind of coming from it. It's got this smell that kind of feels like it's going to be a floral thing going on with it, but not really. The floral thing just kind of gives you the impression of, a woman, if you will. Not necessarily that a woman specifically would wear it, although I think it's good for both men and women, but it kind of gives you the impression of a woman, and it's fleeting. If you're a guy, it kind of gives you the impression that you just hugged a woman that wears a lot of fragrance or something of this of the scent. And the cacophony, or the whole grouping of smells that kind of comes in it, really does remind me of Times Square. And I saw a comment on this fragrance that said that it was something of a disaster, not a bad disaster, but like a disaster of things that are kind of mixed together and just but it's a beautiful disaster, if you will. And I really agree with that sentiment. One of the issues that I would say with this is it's got the performance and everything like that, but one of the issues I would stick with it is that it's hard to wear. It's a beautiful disaster, but it's one that I would kind of relegate specifically to going out at night. And those type of scenarios. Like, I would not wear this on a daily basis or even consider thinking about wearing it to like work or an occasion where specifically I would be very careful and cautious in when I wore this. And that's one of the things, unfortunately, that kind of takes the fragrance down a little bit, is that it feels a little bit more like an artistic-y type of a fragrance. One that's definitely good, very fun to wear, and very pleasant smelling. And even as time goes on, the fragrance smells better and better. It starts to, that fruity, kind of rotting fruit type of a smell, almost reminds me of pulp in that respect from Byredo. But goes in a different direction. But that comes out a little bit more. It starts to get a little bit more sweet. The little floral notes start to recede a little bit. You start to get a little bit more smokiness. And overall, it's just man, a mess of scents put together, and it just smells wonderful. I like it. Really does remind me of Times Square. Kudos to them for that. So if I'm going to go ahead and give this fragrance a rating, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. At the end of the day, I really do like the scent. It's a great scent for that respect. With the caution, if you're thinking about getting this, I would definitely get a sample of it, just because I do think that it is a little bit harder to wear than some other fragrances that are out there. And for 35 milliliters and $150, it's a little bit on the expensive side. So you want to make sure that you enjoy the fragrance before you actually plunk down that kind of money for the scent. So that's one thing that I would leave with it. But at the end of the day, again, solid fragrance. If you're looking for a night out fragrance, a unique night out fragrance, and if you like that kind of imagery of Times Square, if you will, then I would suggest definitely taking a look at this and potentially picking it up as well. Solid fragrance overall, and I am nothing but pleased with it. All right. That's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what your thoughts, if you've actually come across this scent, and let me know, your thoughts on it and all that good stuff. All right. So thank you guys. Take care of yourselves, and you guys have a great day.